Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Hope everyone is doing well. In our today's video, we're going to be doing something differently. Generally, when we record our videos, we try to have ideas in our mind, but this time around, everything is going to be spontaneous. From beginning to end, we're going to be speaking to each other spontaneously. I'll be asking some questions to teacher Sen, and he'll do the same thing in his turn. So hopefully this video is going to be interesting and intriguing, and it can be a good source of listening material for you. Without further ado, let's get started. And the first question come to my mind is, teacher Sen, how did you end up coming to our country? Why Azerbaijan? There's so many countries out there in the world, and Azerbaijan is a tiny country compared to others, but you made a decision to come to our country. Why?
Okay, so this is one question that I have to be asked as long as I meet someone new. So, we thought that it would be a good idea to include this question in the podcast and, have this answer reach out to many more people.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, I have been living in Azerbaijan for 5 years. And prior to coming here, I was living in the Gulf countries, specifically in Dubai. And I did a lot of research after going back from there to my country that I want to live in a community where it's pious and it's more engaging and more people friendly. So I started doing my research and I beeline for Azerbaijan, and I decided that let's fly, let's see how this country is and what this country has to offer.
Okay. So as far as I know, you've been working as a teacher for more than 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
You worked in Dubai, you worked in India, and for more than 4 or 5 years, you've been working here in Azerbaijan as an English teacher, IELTS, TOEFL, and etc.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why this takes me to ask this question to you, because as you've got this international teaching experience, where do you see our students? Where do you think our students are lacking? Where do you think they're good?
Okay, all right, a good one. So I'm sure that you want to draw a comparison between
Yeah.
the students there and the students here, which is ideally not correct, I would say, because the students there they are exposed to the education system in such a way that they study everything in the English language from the beginning when they start their education. Whereas if we look at students over here in Azerbaijan, it's a little bit of a different story altogether. You see that students are taking education in the Azerbaijan language or in the Russian language. Even though having said that, English is a part of the curriculum and part of the syllabus. And of course, they do study English here as well. And it's more of related to grammar, I think. And, it's a target-based learning because, they're targeting an examination and they want to pass the examination. So I would definitely say that it would not be right to put two students from two different backgrounds
Yeah.
in one single bucket because that is not right, basically.
To be honest, I myself also have been working as a teacher for more than 7 years, and I believe, for example, if you ask this question to a student, why do you think you're struggling with being able to express your thoughts fluent in English language? Most of them are going to say that, okay, because we are alone, there's no one around us to be able to communicate in the English language, and there's no partners, and etc. Do you think having partner is that much important to increase your speaking? I'm specifically talking about the speaking. Listening, we understand that, for example, you can listen to any English speaking videos on YouTube or on other social platforms. You can increase your level of listening. But they complain about the lack of partners to be able to communicate with in the English language. Do you think partner is that much important?
Now, if we generalize, we also have to take into consideration the opportunity students have here in order to engage with foreigners or entities coming from outside to visit or maybe to live here, immigrants. All right. So I see that, compared to before, now they have quite a few opportunities. But if we look at least 2 to 3 years back, no, students did not actually have that kind of a chance in order to, engage and, put forth their ideas and have a communication chance with the foreigners. But whereas now, yes, of course, even though having said that, I would definitely like to say that you don't need someone in order to, learn and improve your language. You don't have to depend on someone. There are different methods approved by Cambridge, approved by various education entities and councils. whereas you don't basically need someone to support and learn English or a language in itself uh, without any dependency. Yes.
Yeah. And one more question coming to my mind is directly associated with the completion of one level. I myself, as a teacher, have faced this question, this concern a lot from students, from parents who try to enroll their children in our education center, in our lessons. They've got this kind of expectation. If students started learning the English language, they're supposed to be able to speak in that language after 4 or 5 months. They don't say they have to talk at the fluent level, but at least in their understanding, they have to be able to speak at the intermediate level. So to me, it's surreal. It's not realistic. So I'd like to take your input about this issue.
I mean, 100% I agree with you. It's not right on the part of the education centers or teachers or even the parents. The expectation is really wrong, where not having knowledge about how much time it actually requires for a student to move from one level to another level, and promising something that cannot be delivered, and having an expectation is really wrong. If you remember, 2 to 3 years back, when we had a conversation with the professor from UK, right? We made sure that we asked this question to have her throw some light around this question, especially. Do you remember the answer?
I remember. It was interesting to. It's kind of an exchange program. We want to kind of get the hand of their program, how they're holding lessons for the migrants. And I believe it was till the end of the conversation, and I asked this question to her, whether, it's 3 months, 4 months, or 5 months, how many months do they need to complete one level with migrants? She said that 6 months at least. In fact, there's no uniform answer to this question, because it depends on the level of the student. The motivation of the student. It depends on the persistence, how much time the student is going to spend on the English language, and so on and so forth. There's no uniform answer, but she said that if we average it, it's going to come around, let's say, 6 months. And when I heard this answer from her, I gave it a smile, because if you say this word to our English learners, they're not going to take part in your lesson, because I don't want to sound a bit rude, but as if sometimes people are okay with being naive, with being deceived by the education centers. I believe that the root of the problems come from the education centers, which are promoting the completion of the total English during 12 days. And that's how on earth it's possible? How on earth it's possible to believe in these words? I believe the problems kind of stemming from their, let's say, promises. Come, take part in our lessons, and you're going to be able to complete one level during 12 days, even 1 month, 2 months, extended to 5 months. If that's the case, it means an individual can learn any foreign language, let's say during 4 months, and it means during a year you can complete at least 3-4 languages. How on earth? It's not possible. How many years old have you been living here?
So I have been living here for 5 years. I still don't speak the Azerbaijan language.
Yeah, so if that was the case, then I have to disagree with you and say that no, I know the Azerbaijan language, and it's not really making sense. But it's absolutely not like that. I mean, if that was the case, then I should be able to learn the language in 12 days or 30 days, or let's say 2 months. It's good that you've highlighted a few factors that come into picture when you are learning the language. You have to make it a part of your daily routine, right? It is not just fixed to,
You study 1 hour.
like an examination, or you study for an hour. It doesn't really make sense. It's target-based learning, and that is not going to help you.
I definitely agree. I mean, language has to be a part of your day-to-day life. If you see it as a burden, if you think that you will start after 5 months, after 6 months, let's imagine you're too genius and you reach that level, desired level, and you left it aside. Again, you're going to come backwards, because if you stop using even your native language, you're going to forget the words. Because languages are maintained by means of practice. There's no other way, to be honest. So if you want to be fluent at any language, you have to practice it more. The more you practice, the better you're going to be in that language. That's the only solution. Yeah, for example, maybe you're struggling with vocabulary, maybe you're struggling with keeping the vocabulary in your mind, and so on and so forth. So the easiest way of getting rid of this problem, I believe, is through practice. What do you think about that?
Of course, yes. I'm sure that you must be already thinking about, how can I make this language more closer to me, a part of my daily life. There are a lot of activities that we do morning and evening, all right, or also in the afternoon where, I'm in a taxi or I'm traveling on a train or I'm on the bus or maybe I'm doing something not so productive. In these situations, if you have a set of headphones, you can listen to a podcast or maybe watch a video in the English language on YouTube or any other social media platform.
You know what I think, teachers? Maybe 10, 20 years ago, these students would be right. For example, a few minutes back, we were talking about having that partner.
Yeah.
But now, maybe physically you don't have a partner, virtually I've got a partner.
Exactly.
There's so many videos on YouTube. I mean, questioning videos. They ask a question, you have to give a response back to the question, right? If you practice it day in, day out, so there's no way that you can't improve. It's not possible. It's not possible.
Of course, there are way too many opportunities compared to in the past where you can learn the language by yourself. I have personally come across some students who have learned the English language here by themselves. However, even though having said that, you of course need a teacher to elevate you in order to take you to that next level. All right. If that was the case where a student can learn the language and do everything by themselves, why in the first place we would have teachers?
That's a good argument, to be honest. Then, if we are living in the digitalized world, why do we need teachers? That's a good question. But sometimes we're talking about when we try to discuss the child's language learning journey, we say that they listen, then repeat it after, and so on and so forth. So, do you have that much time? Do you think you're that much patient? For example, if we analyze, all of us can say the same thing in common, that for a child to be able to speak elementary level in his or her native language, at least 3 years is needed, right?
Sure.
So do you think you're patient that much? So the shortening of that time period comes through teachers. Whenever you make a mistake, teachers are going to major learning on to correct your mistakes, or teacher is going to put you on track in order to hasten your learning process. The role of a teacher is quite important, to be honest. A few minutes back, we were talking about finding that partner. Maybe at home you don't have a partner, but in the classroom, teacher is going to be your partner.
Of course, yes. And there's one more thing that I would like to highlight here, and I would want it to become a part of the classroom activity or your learning activity where, when you are learning the language with your mates in a classroom, okay, I would suggest, to have a practice of speaking to each other more in the English language. This will, you're already getting an opportunity in a classroom, so why not utilize it?
Yeah, fantastic. So I believe that's enough. If you don't have a question in your mind, okay, we can wrap it up, or if you've got.
All right, I do have a question, related to vocabulary. Now, I come across this question a lot when I'm teaching, especially with students who are new. They are so concerned about, having a good vocabulary base. I'm sure, this video would not be enough, and answering this question would not be enough. We will have to have a different podcast and hit to the core of, what are different methods, what can work in your favor in terms of learning vocabulary. I would still want to ask you, in a flash, if you can answer and let them know that how quickly can.
I believe if you have to put in a kind of short way, in a nutshell, I can say that the easiest way of increasing your vocabulary is reading and is listening. For example, generally the conventional method dictates that you have to kind of pick up the dictionary book, then you have to learn the vocabulary letter by letter. Today you completed letter A, the very next day you're going to move to letter B. But it's not the best way because, for one, to be able to increase the vocabulary or to be able to keep the vocabulary in mind, that person has to be kind of surrounded by the context. When we read, we can be exposed to the context. When we listen, we can be exposed to the context. But when we memorize word by word through the dictionary, it's not possible. That's the reason why I believe so many students are complaining about the loss of vocabulary. They complain about not being able to remember the vocabulary. But for example, we know that when a writer writes a text, that writer tries to follow the coherence, right? Tries to make it logical and meaningful for the readers, right? It means all the words are interconnected with each other. All the sentences are interlinked with each other. So, for example, in the middle of the text, you do manage to understand one vocabulary. The surrounding vocabulary is going to give a hand to you to understand what this vocabulary means. And for the next time, for instance, when you try to remember this vocabulary, all these surrounding vocabulary is going to help you remember the meaning of the vocabulary, okay? The same applies for the listening. For example, you're watching something about football and the, let's say, reporter used a word, specific word, and you will remember the kind of situation or the in which condition, in which situation the reporter used this word. The way next time when you want to use this vocabulary, all the things are going to flash before your eyes, and all the things are going to help you to remember the meaning of the words. That's why I believe the memorization of the vocabulary has to be done by means of reading, by means of listening. Through dictionary, it doesn't make sense.
Okay, sure. That is briefly well summarized. Learning vocabulary is like turning a pack of cards. Okay, they are upside down, and there are two different kinds of methods. So of course, we will try to accommodate a different podcast altogether, like I said, where we try to touch the core of what are the different kinds of methods that you can use in order to improve your vocabulary, depending on what kind of a situation you are in. And we will also try to have scenario-based role plays in our podcast, in order to give them an impression of, make them realize that, okay, we are looking very closely at your situation and helping you to understand and learn vocabulary.
I think you can agree with me that this, let's say, podcast or mini videos, short videos, are not going to be about only English or language, because there's so many topics out there we can have a discussion about. You're from another country, I'm from Azerbaijan, we can have a discussion about culture.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. It can be interesting for our viewers. Yeah. Maybe we can talk about business.
Sure.
What business, in your opinion, as a foreigner, is the best idea to run in our country? Maybe so many things we can touch on.
Of course, yes.
So I believe for our today's video, it's enough.
Yeah.
So if you have any kind of topic in your mind, you can leave in the comment section. We're going to try to take everything into consideration, and we can try to make it more interesting for you in our next videos.
All right. Yes, guys, you need to understand that your feedback, your inputs are really critical to us. Okay, because then is how we can relate to you more closely, and we can offer what exactly you are looking for. All right. Thank you for joining, guys.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.